Hello, can you hear me okay? I can't hear Jan. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Jan, can you hear me okay? Can she hold up the phone so that way I can hear her as well? Brian, can you pass her the phone so I can hear her? Oh, perfect. Okay, I can hear a little bit, but yeah, if she can get the phone, this is great. We're on the stream right now with Jan, the organizer of the No Kings protest in Mesa. Jan, can you tell us a little bit about the crowd and the event and what's to come?
And Biggs is in the Epstein files, too. And for his Epsteinian escapades, he thinks he deserves to be voted the governor of Arizona. Now, who's got derangement syndrome, the likes of which we've never seen?
Tell us more about the importance of No King's Day in such a politically divisive time right now.
It's politically divisive because of the opposition, I think. I mean, our side wants everything for the people, the Constitution. We're nonviolent. We believe in taking care of everyone, but Trump and Biggs don't believe that. And as you can see by this huge crowd in Mesa, and I mean it's huge, Mesa is not just all conservative anymore. There's 3,300 counties in this country, and all of them have at least one event. Maricopa County has several.
Now, tell us more. The event is going to go until noon today. What can people expect if they go out to the No King's Day protest in Mesa?
They can expect it to be difficult to find a spot to stand because this line is just huge. It's miles long. From Inverness going north on Stapley, we've already crossed the 60 on both sides of the street. Most of the businesses here are compassionate and are supportive of us. They welcome us, and it's just a great day for Arizona and for Mesa Valley indivisible.
Now, what do you tell people who might be watching this and might not know what the big deal is? They're not caught up in the everyday political noise and activities. Why is it so important that they pay attention to the concerns of people at the No King's Day protests?
Well, if they go to our website, Mesa Valley Indivisible, they'll get a wrap-up of all the events and the upcoming events and what are the concerns with their Congressperson Andy Biggs And if they don't know what's wrong with Donald Trump by now, they're not watching the news very much.
This is great. Thank you so much for your time, Jan. I really appreciate it. I hope as many people as possible come out to the Mesa protest. Tell people again where they can find you and why they should be there.
We are at all four corners of Stapley and Inverness. That's a little bit south of the 60. And we stretch all the way north to cross the 60. It's huge. You can't miss it. Seriously.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
I know the other side is going to say it's a handful. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Perfect. Super simple.
Thank you.
Hi, Megan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, this is terrific. This is Dave Taylor. We're waiting for Steve Nielsen to recuperate from the morning news. So until then, tell me a little bit about what you have been doing today, what you've seen, and everything that's been happening.
Yeah, we've watched this protest here in Glendale, 59th and Bell. It has grown quickly over the past hour or so. When we first got here at 9, it was just getting started and there was already a crowd of people, but now, I mean, take a look at this stream, this sidewalk, completely filled with people holding all different types of signs that say "No Kings." They're all fighting back against the Trump administration. As far as what, the people we've talked to have told us, they have a lot of different issues with what's going on, and they're here just to make their voices heard. And what we talked about earlier is that where this protest is situated, it's right in between a shopping center. So we have a stream of traffic that's also been driving through all morning. I don't know if you can hear the cars honking, but the protesters are encouraging it. They're trying to make their voices loud and clear. And we're just watching more and more people file in.
And Megan, can you talk us through some of what the biggest messages that people are trying to get across in these No Kings Day protests about Donald Trump and the Republican Party?
Yeah, we've spoken to a few people throughout the morning, and it seems like the messages are pretty broad. Again, the focus is concerns with the Trump administration, but it goes anything ranging from what's happening with immigration enforcement to focusing or, wanting to focus efforts locally instead of in different countries with war. But pretty much the common ground that everyone says is that they are going to keep protesting until change is made, until Trump is out of office. That's what these protesters are telling us.
That's great information. Now, this is just obviously one protest in Glendale. Talk about the size of No Kings Day. What does it strike you as a reporter, how many protests there are, not only in Arizona, but all across the country?
I mean, this is a huge movement, and I think we expected it to be a huge movement because of how many protests were planned and scheduled ahead of time. I think looking through the list, there were at least 50 throughout the state of Arizona, maybe even closer to 70, I believe 20 or more throughout the valley. And then you mentioned it, this is happening across the entire nation, hundreds of protests all the way from California to Washington, D.C. And from the videos that I've seen, I mean, they're very similar to what's happening here. Lots of cars driving by, honkings, people with their signs, their American flags, again, just trying to make their voices heard across the entire country.
That's terrific. Thank you, Megan. We'll check in with you again a little bit later with Steve Nielsen. Really appreciate your work. If you could just keep your shot up, we'd love to keep looking at these visuals.
Yeah, definitely. Take a look at all these signs as cars keep driving through and protesters keep lining up.
When they meddling in their politics.
It kind of says it all.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay.
All right, let me figure out how we're doing this technically speaking here real quick here, Taylor. All right, give me just a second.
Okay.
Oh, we're up right now?
Yeah, we've been streaming, man.
Well, I didn't know my mic was up. Okay, got it. Well, welcome in, everybody. As we continue our stream here, this is our live look at, is this what we got on program that we're seeing right here, Dave?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. All right, so this is our look here at what's going on out there in Tempe. McClintock and the US 60. So we got Taylor out there. She was live with us all morning on Fox 10. So this looks very different than what it was before, Taylor.
Yeah, guys. So the protest is still going here out in Tempe. We're at Rotary Park. That's across the bridge on US 60 from Cole Park, where we were all morning. But things are starting to slow down. They've been doing like a 2-mile loop between the parks. So right now you're just seeing kind of the last few people out here. But it's been quite a good turnout. I would say at least a few hundred people. I mean, we've been out here since 7 this morning, and there were probably at least 100 people out here by 8 a.m. So very strong showing out in Tempe today.
So what did you have a chance to talk to a couple people? Like, what was the vibe? Why were they out there? Why were they passionate about this?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the main draws of this protest in particular for a lot of people was a lot of the group was from the Handmaid's Army. So if you've seen The Handmaid's Tale, it's that dystopian show where the women are wearing the white bonnets and the red capes. So that's a group that's very active across the country at protests. It's a women's group. So there were about 100 of them out here today. And I believe they were also doing a drive for canned food and gently used clothing items. So trying to do kind of a few things at once here, getting the crowd out. But I mean, there were people of all ages. There was definitely a lot of older people out early, but we saw young people, we saw kids. And, you know, it was just the message that we've been hearing, no kings. This was in addition to the thousands of protests that we saw, you know, back in October. They're saying that the White House policies are authoritarian, un-American, and unconstitutional, and they are strongly opposed to President Trump and most of his policies. So that was the basis for the protest today.
Hey, have you covered one of these before, the No Kings protests? Have you been out there before at one of these?
Yes, I covered the one at the state capitol back in October, and I believe we had about 15,000 people, I want to say, out there. So that was crazy.
So I kind of wanted to ask about that because this is interesting. Like, we've seen some visuals in other cities where it seems like a more centralized protest. Out here, we've got 20 of them throughout the valley. So it seems very decentralized where everything is taking place. I'm not sure we've seen that sweeping visual that we expect to see where you just mentioned at the Capitol where 15,000 people are all gathered together. So I kind of wanted to get your take. I think there was an assumption from a lot of people on the left that this was going to be a much larger turnout than we've seen at the other No Kings Day protests because of the war in Iran going on, gas prices going up, all of these other issues that are happening right now. Do you feel like this has been a much larger response than the other ones, or has this been sort of steady what we've seen on other No Kings Day protests, just from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's kind of hard to compare the two because the Capitol, as you said, was a little bit more centralized, and this one was kind of this big 2-mile loop. But I will say, I mean, for 2 miles and starting at 9 a.m. and really earlier when people started lining up, I mean, there was a consistent flow of people pretty much if you picture just a river going around, kind of a lazy river going around in a loop.
Lazy river. That's a really good word for it. That's exactly right.
That's the best way. Yeah. A slow, steady stream of people. So it's difficult to compare the two. But yeah, as you said, you know, we are a very suburban area. And I know that, you know, Phoenix was built in the post-car world, whereas a lot of these cities you're seeing on the East Coast or Chicago, you know, were built before all that. So they're a lot more centralized. So like you said, there's definitely not that sweeping mass image of just thousands of people elbow to elbow. But I mean, today's showing was very strong, and I'm not sure what's going on. I know in Old Town Scottsdale there was a lot, and I believe Megan was out in the West Valley, and she was seeing a lot out there too. So it was definitely a solid crowd here in Tempe, especially, with people showing up.
And we're taking, as you're saying that, we've moved off of your live picks as that event started to kind of wrap up, and taking a look here along. Where is this, Dave? Which one is this? We got a driving live shot here, though, and it's lined up a long way right here of people over the course of probably half a mile. Oh, this is our Mesa one here. What is this? Give me the cross streets here.
Right there, South Stapley Road.
Oh, Stapley Road and Inverness Ave. Got it there, just right next to where the 60 is right there. So, yeah, I mean, just big crowds all around out there. And let's go ahead and switch to our Old Town Scottsdale camera right here as our car got forced onto the 60 and has to turn around. No protesters lining the 60. I don't think that'd be safe on the side of the road there. Although, Taylor, we were reporting out in California, how we always have protesters out there that seems like they block the highways. They actually put up metal gates to make sure that protesters didn't get on the highway. Was there any, since your protesters there were so close to the highway, did you get the vibe that there was going to be a moment like that where people would try to block traffic, or was this more of a, what do I want to say? Like you mentioned, like the lazy river. Is this more of a not an energetic 19-year-old crowd where there's a lot of screaming and shouting and they want to block the highway, or is it more of a calmer group of people out there as they were going around?
People would you say are here today?
Thousands. I can't see all the way down.
Do you know, will there be aerial photography?
We had our helicopter up.
You did?
Yeah.
And did they record that?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
But I don't know what the estimate. I'm with Fox 10 News.
Okay.
I don't know what the estimate is. Yeah. Fox 10 News.
Okay. Have you gotten some good
I
shots?
think because
Yes.
we've had some of these no
What
state
time?
protests at this point, they've all
They're
operated
taking one
like
now.
this.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
streaming, so, and they took me at
I
9:30
didn't really
to our
anticipate there being
newscast.
a problem like that with these protests really good perspective to hear how it was in Tempe, that they actually had organizers who were directing everyone, making sure nobody got out of hand going across the bridge or anything like that. It's interesting perspective out there. Your event started at 9. It's already wrapped up. I mean, Dave, why don't we go back to our ENR3 here just to show people that I'm seeing a couple of people here. Is that, from what your camera's showing us, is that all that's going on? Did everybody else already leave at this point and it's just a handful of people in a tent?
Yeah, essentially that's the majority of it. There are a few people still walking this loop, so it's just kind of because it's a 2-mile stretch, it's very spread out. So it doesn't look like, it looks like a lot smaller of a crowd than it is. So, you'll still see a few people trickling in front of the camera. But overall, it is kind of dying down, clearing out. I think the heat definitely plays a factor. I mean, we've been baking out here a little bit. So I give people credit, especially with all that walking that they've been doing.
Yeah, 97 the high today, but I won't get into the full weather report right now. But I will ask you this, because we've been seeing all morning and talking to people about the dust in the air because of the winds. Has it felt like a dusty morning out there, or has it been okay?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's been gross. We were, up before dawn, but as we were driving and the sun was rising, it was looking so hazy, and it either had to be fog or dust, and unfortunately it sounds like it was dust. And it was really windy too. I actually had my jacket on for the 7 a.m. and 7:30 live shots because it was just, even though it was warm, it was very windy. The winds kind of calmed down, but very dusty day.
Yeah, and I was going to say that, National Weather Service, they didn't put out any ozone warning or pollution advisory in the air or anything like that. But I was thinking, if you've got breathing problems, and you want to go and be a part of this and be shouting and stuff outside, great idea to just have a mask on just for your breathing. If you're going to be doing that, or just maybe stay inside today, just because yeah, I mean, this is an unusually dusty day out there. Definitely. Hey, Taylor, appreciate you talking to us, giving us some nice perspective out there in Tempe as that event has wrapped up there. What's your plan now?
Yeah, I think we might try and get an interview with one of the organizers.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good. A lot of good lunch spots out there in Tempe. So, we'll look forward to hearing from those event organizers later on in our shows and programmings. And if you're not in Phoenix and you're watching this from afar, you can go to fox10phoenix.com to watch our coverage of that later today when we sort of do a wrap-up of all these events. Taylor, appreciate you. Thank you. All right, so that was Taylor Wirtz out there in Tempe where that event has wrapped up. You're looking at live pictures now from Philadelphia here where we have a dinosaur in attendance, breaking news. But no, those are some of the things we see with all of these protests. They kind of have a serious message, but there's kind of a fun component that happens with all of these as well. Taking a live look here at some larger crowds that they have out there in Philadelphia. We were talking about how every region handles these differently. In Arizona, we've got 50 of these events, 20 of them in the Valley alone. So inevitably, when you've got 20 of these events, you're going to have everything spread out a lot more. It's not going to be as centralized. So you're not going to have that visual of, 15, 20,000 people all standing together, which can be very powerful messages. It's going to be more separated all throughout the day. And again, over the last 2 years, we have seen these. When you're driving around on a Saturday, all of a sudden you'll make a turn in Gilbert or in Surprise, and boom, that whole street's covered with people protesting and ask you to put on Honk the Horn as we take a live look. This is our Old Town Scottsdale shot here. Dave, let's go back to our preview here. Is this Philadelphia?
Yeah, Philadelphia.
Yeah, so this is what I was just talking about. These are those sweeping shots that we typically see when we talk about these major protests that happen, where it's just so many people all together. We don't quite get that when it's decentralized like this in these other and this sort of setup that we have in Arizona. But this is how the No Kings Day protest has been handled here in Arizona, really since the beginning of them having these, as they've been more spread out like this. All right, we can go back to our Scottsdale shot here to show people locally more what's going on. Do want to stress the counter to this. Of course, we reach out to all the players involved when there's these things going on. We, of course, reached out to the White House to see what they think of the fact that there are 50 protests going on against the White House today in Arizona, 20 protests in the Valley. They sent a pretty curt response, just sort of dismissing the existence of these, saying, quote, "The only people who care about these Trump derangement therapy sessions are the reporters who are paid to cover them." So that is the response to the No Kings Day protests from the White House, putting the onus on the reporters out there covering all of these things. And we can call Rick?
Yeah,
Rick Davis? All right, why don't you give him a buzz on your phone there, and we can bring in Rick. Do we have his live pictures? Do we know where he is?
He's right here. He's at the Scottsdale one.
He's at Scottsdale? Okay, so that's at Scottsdale Road there. He's at the Old Town, or is he at Camelback Road and North Scottsdale Road? There's a couple of them.
Road and North
Okay, perfect, got it. Camelback and Scottsdale. So we got Rick Davis out there. We're going to give him a call and try to bring him in right now, see what he's seen out there. Is this his pictures here? Okay, perfect. Got it. Well, that seems like one of the larger events that are still ongoing right now. And our producer, Dave, is just giving Rick Davis a call
Rick,
here.
Can you hear me okay?
And,
I can't hear you if you can hold up the phone next to you. Oh, there you go. That's better. Yeah.
All right, there we go. Now we got Rick.
Mic over to Steve.
Thank you, Dave. Rick Davis, how you doing, sir? So tell me a little bit about what's going on out there. What are you guys seeing?
Well, I'm on the corner of Camelback and Scottsdale Road, and each intersection is full of people walking back and forth, up and down, all around for this No Kings protest.
And are you? Everything seems pretty darn peaceful, right? It's just everyone having fun, sort of working together here with one message.
Oh, absolutely. Very peaceful crowd. I only saw one sign that I could not videotape, if you know what I mean. People are really nice. The police officers are out here doing a great job with the crowd. They've got people assisting people through the crosswalk as they go. And the most important thing is the overcast, so it's not too hot.
That's true. Yeah, the weather is very helpful for the organizers today. There's no doubt about that. Because even though the temperature is going to be heating up, as long as you don't have that beating sun on you, that's nice. I was just talking with Taylor Wirtz about that. That hazy sky, that dusty sky out there is actually kind of nice for everyone. Might hurt the breathing, but good for the skin. So as you're looking at this right here, I mean, how does this, Rick Davis, how many protests have you covered in your life? I imagine, I'm going to say hundreds. How does this sort of compare to other protests you've covered?
This is a fairly large protest, Steve. One of the largest I've covered, but I've been at a lot of different ones, you know, for whatever the cause is. But it is, I must say, one of the most peaceful ones, organized-wise. I'm not seeing that edgy talk or edgy whatever from this crowd here in Scottsdale. Very peaceful protest. But I don't know what the numbers are, Steve. It would definitely be thousands, but I don't know how many, just because I can't see up and down the street because the line of people is going east, west, north, south from Camelback and Scottsdale.
And it's interesting to see how many people cross the street when it gets opened up, and we see these people in these like construction jackets here, sort of directing the traffic in between. Those are not city officials, right? Those are just people with the protest trying their hardest to keep everyone contained.
I believe those are organizers of the protest, but standing back, which you really can't see, are Scottsdale police that are actually watching the intersection to make sure everybody gets across okay. And they also have some Scottsdale PD on bike patrolling the area and then in the cars too. And they have a drone up actually too.
And I imagine you've seen a lot of honking, or heard a lot of honking from these cars too, right?
Yeah, more than I need to hear, to be quite honest. But I mean, they are honking loud and proud, if you will. There's some of them that have a distinct sound. Almost, there was one that stood parked right next to me. It sounded like a diesel, and it was just a little bitty, Kia car with a diesel sound. I was like, wow, they're really into the movement here.
All different kinds here for an event like this. And have you seen, we always talk about with protests, sort of the counter-protests. Have you seen any group of people, of Trump supporters, that are shouting back or anything?
No, and I've been looking for them. Not one pro-Trump sign have I seen from this group out here this morning. I'm sure there's probably some around, but I just have not seen them.
How have your conversations been with people out there? Everyone, what are they sort of talking about?
Well, I talked to a lady named Catherine, and she wanted to make sure that we stressed that there's just too much chaos with this administration, is what she said. That's why she's out here, that one day there's one thing, the next day there's another thing, back and forth, and so on and so on. And that's why she was out here today.
Got it. Well, interesting to see your shot here going back and forth at this incredibly busy intersection in Arizona, to see all four corners with quite a response right here. How far to the right does this shot go with people? How far down is it lined up here?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, we're right next to the Scottsdale Fashion Square, Steve. I'll zoom down going west.
Look how many people there
and
are.
You can see.
Yeah.
Just from this angle, because I can actually show this, because it kind of goes to the right, so you can see down. And actually, if I pan over to the left a little bit, across the street, you can see people on the south side of Scottsdale, or Camelback Road from Scottsdale Road. So yeah, it's hard to tell, but there are a lot of people out here in Scottsdale today for this No Kings protest.
Absolutely, yeah. Large response here. There's so many people out here, and this is just one, again, of 20 events going on in the Valley. Hey, Rick, appreciate the conversation here, chatting with us about it, and appreciate the work you're doing out there covering this protest right now. And we'll let you go at this point, let you get back to work and keep bringing us these visuals.
Okay, Steve.
Good stuff from Rick Davis right there as we continue to take our live shot here at Old Town Scottsdale, at Camelback Road and North Scottsdale Road that they got out there. It's not the only one in Scottsdale, though. We've also got one on Scottsdale Road. We just talked about the one from Tempe. We've got Queen Creek. Mesa's having an event. Gilbert's having an event. Fountain Hills, Chandler. 3 different events in Apache Junction. So, yeah, no, I got it right here. So, yeah, and you got, and then that's just on the East Valley side of things out there. So, a lot of different events, and that's why you get this decentralized sort of a look, which is why I was a little bit surprised by just the sheer numbers there at the Old Town Scottsdale one, because that definitely looks like a much larger response than the one we saw in Tempe with our coverage from Taylor Wirtz earlier this morning. But that event's already wrapped up, so presumably some of those people maybe want to come to a different location if they want to continue to protest throughout the day and get their message heard. Again, this is the No King's Day protest. The basic message from the organizers is just a response to Donald Trump and the president and this administration. They're putting this out here that they view him as a king in how he rules, as a dictator, and they want him to be dethroned. That's the word that they use. At the same time as that has happened, we've also, since the last day of No King's Day protests, a lot has changed. We have the war in Iran now. We have a look at gas prices going on. We have the lines at TSA. So curious to see how much those specific events, those specific things are impacting the crowds we see at the No King's Day protests. Do we have any other shots going on right now? Not locally. Okay.
Yet, but we can go back to Philadelphia.
Yeah, let's go back to Philadelphia just to show you these shots, just because they are so impressive. This looks like from the helicopter we got out there in Philadelphia as they're taking a look at just this massive response that they have out there. Unclear if it looks like they have some sort of a speaking event going on. Something like that going on out there as that camera pans around at what's going on. Oh, yeah, we go. This is the speaking event they have right now. Yeah, we can bring that up, listen to what they're talking about right now.
It's scary. I actually was thinking this morning, maybe we should rename the uterus ICE so it could have absolute immunity. But I'm so proud of you. You chased out of this state pure evil. You chased them out. You chased out the fun-sized fascist Greg Bovino. You chased out that evil Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem is so evil, I'm starting to think that her dog took his own life. Just couldn't take it. Is this my future? I need to get out. I'm taking the goat with me. All right. I am here simply to introduce some of the finest people I know. People who have worked hard organizing here, musicians who are using their art to really fight against fascism. So today's about healing, joy, regenerating to continue to fight the work, and getting marching orders as we move ahead. And so, our first marching order, get out your phones. Get out your phones, because I'm going to say this a couple of times throughout this block. So, I want you to text the word VOTE to 30319. What that will do is you're going to get plugged into the Election Protection Network, which is so crucial. And they'll call on you to monitor polling places, report voter suppression, and show up when it matters most, because democracy doesn't defend itself, but together we will. So, are you ready for some fun and for some inspiration? Let's get to it. First up, the dynamic chamber ensemble from the incredible Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus, directed by Gerald Gurris, is Borealis. They're going to set our day with a song about struggle, resilience, and victory. The story of Minnesota, not over the last few months, but over the last year, and the story of who we are. Please welcome Borealis.
that's
We can't do them.
Yeah.
Let's push it on a bit.
Okay, Steve's calling me. Hey, Steve. Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, we're back on live here, and Steve Nielsen here. We're talking with Megan Spector, who was out in. You were in Glendale, right?
Yes, we've been in Glendale since the protest started at about 9 a.m. and things are pretty much wrapped up.
I'm
here.
blown away at how quickly it got wrapped. I mean, that was a quick hitter of a protest because you had a pretty good sized crowd out there, and I don't see a soul out there right now. Looks like they all left.
Yeah, there's just a few stragglers here right now. And the protest, I mean, it grew quickly as well. When we got here at 9, the protest was scheduled from about 9 to 10:30, I believe. And already at 9:05, there was already a crowd. By 10, the sidewalks were completely filled on the side we were standing on, and they were on both sides of the road, protesters with, signs in hand, flags waving, a lot of red, white, and blue, trying to make their voices heard. But you're right. I mean, the protest wrapped up at around 10:30, and just a few minutes later, everything started to
Got it. And
around.
actually, it looks like, camera just showed a couple of people there still on that street corner. But yeah, no,
Yes.
they took that 10:30, the 9 to 10:30 protest time very seriously there. And why I'm kind of laughing about that just a little bit is just because this is such an interesting protest that's been spread out across the valley. Is that this isn't 18-year-olds being angry and shouting at a building, right? This is more deep-seated stuff from older people. I think this is a much older average age for a protest than what we're typically used to seeing. And because of that, things are sort of operating in an older, more mature way. We're seeing protest times being honored and respected. We're seeing event organizers sort of directing traffic and everyone listening to it. Is that what you saw out there?
Definitely. I mean, from what organizers said when posting about these protests, they were all supposed to be peaceful. They were supposed to, you stay on the sidewalk. You can bring your signs, bring your flags. But that's exactly what we saw. People, respected the street. They let people, drive by. Cars were honking as they were coming by. In fact, you can still see, or hear at least, cars honking with just the few stragglers left that are still protesting on the end of the street right now, but a very different situation from what we saw just 30 minutes ago when this entire sidewalk was filled with protesters.
Did you get a chance to talk to a couple of them? What were they saying they were doing out here from their perspective?
Yeah, we did. We talked to a lot of people, a very similar message, all of them trying to, voice their concerns about what's happening with the Trump administration on a variety of topics. One person jokingly said, pick which one you want to talk about today. They brought up the detention center in Surprise. They brought up immigration enforcement across the country, wars, and, the U.S. involvement in what's going on overseas. They had a lot to talk about, but there was a very similar message in the sense where almost every person that I spoke with said they will be back out here protesting until they see some change.
And that's so interesting you say that, the lots of reasons from that one person, because I was trying to get a vibe on this. Since the last No King's Day protests we've had, a lot's happened in the world. We have the war in Iran. We've got, gas prices where they're at right now. We've got the TSA lines going on. Congress that is just simply incapable of doing anything. The standstill between the R and the D seems to be just a massive divide at this point. So I was just trying to get a vibe of, the people that are showing up today, if they're the ones that have shown up for every No King's Day protest up to this point, or if there's been a change because of all of those recent events that have caused more people or different people to come today and make a stand today. I didn't know, did you get that vibe at all?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every person that I talked to, I specifically asked how many of these protests have you been to, and it was a mix. We talked to a lot of people that said this is their third, fourth, fifth protest recently, and we also talked to a few people who said this is their first, and just because of what's going on recently, they wanted to come out and make their voices heard.
Everyone has their moment, right? The thing that matters to them, that breaking point for them, right? Republican, Democrat, centralist, whatever you are, everyone has their own thing. So it's interesting to see the people that are saying that, couple months ago, I was upset, but I wasn't going to protest. Today, everything changed. Now I want to get out there and be a part of this. What those breaking points are for everyone. It's always interesting perspective out there. And again, you pretty much wrapped up right there. So what's sort of the plan for you think, for the rest of the day here?
Yeah, well, we're watching as these final protesters are, wrapping up here. Like you said, it wrapped up very quickly. So we're just making sure, keeping an eye on things here. Everything seemed to be being pretty, peaceful out here. But, we talked about this earlier. This is just one of more than, 50 protests happening across the valleys, or across Arizona, about 20 in the valley. So I'm sure that we'll keep an eye on other protests around the city and the
Did anyone say they were going to go to another protest after this?
We didn't talk to anyone who said that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I'm assuming because of heat, a lot of protests have a break in the afternoon. Maybe some things pick up later today, so I wouldn't be surprised if people make their way to a different part of the state to keep trying to make their voices heard.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. We're unique in Arizona in how we have to protest around the heat. And we got some people, waving some flags at the protesters here right now, honking their horns, driving by. We've been off and on taking different shots, Megan, of the scenes in Philadelphia and New York and D.C. where we get these really big centralized protests where everyone comes together. There's speaking portions, events like that. I have found it interesting that in Arizona we've handled it very differently as a state. That these protesters are doing this in a more separate, that every corner of the valley is having their own sort of protests. Just curious to get your take on the fact that, we're so spread out here. There's not that, I just feel like we don't have that dramatic shot that we usually see of protests of look at how many people showed up. We don't get that right now.
Yeah, I guess that is interesting, and we're not seeing, something as similar as, you're right, D.C., Philadelphia, those other major cities that do have this massive crowd kind of basically taking over the streets. I think that some of the protesters we talked to acknowledged the fact and actually supported the fact that there were different protests kind of spread out, in the sense where they talked about, we were going to go to this one, but we realized that we lived closer to this one, so this is why we went to Glendale's protest today. It seemed to make it easier for people to get involved because they were in all different parts, in all different neighborhoods around the state.
Well said. Megan, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. Know you've been working hard this morning, bringing us all these visuals and everything, and keep up the good work, telling us what's going on out there. Thanks, Megan.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, that was Megan Spector out there reporting in Glendale for us. Bell Road, 59th Ave out there as that protest is all wrapping up, and as we switch over here to Old Town Scottsdale, where the protests are not wrapping up out there. This one's scheduled to go until noon, and that's why we're still seeing a much larger active crowd out there right now. Our shot just swapped right here to a reggae festival, I think. I don't know. We'll try to get back. There we go, back to Scottsdale right here, where protesters, what's been interesting about all these protesters here on Scottsdale Road in Old Town, right next to the mall there, is they keep crossing the street during when the lights are changing. They're crossing the street, I think, just moving around, showing off how many of them there are out there. I'm going to say it again because I think it's important that we keep saying this. We, of course, reached out to the White House to get their reaction to this. As is customary for an administration, this isn't a comment about Donald Trump or this administration, but all administrations in general, when there are protests against them, which happens to every president, they will always dismiss the protest as being a large crowd or mattering all that much. So what we've heard from this White House is, quote, "The only people who care about these Trump derangement therapy sessions are the reporters who are paid to cover them." Brief quote. Brief statement from the White House on that. So there you go. That's the White House response to all of these protests going on. And again, these are happening in all the states across the country. And what do we got on BNR3 here? Where is this? Is this local?
No, everything else is national.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's national feed. Yeah, we can bring that up there. Okay, just seeing, not sure where this one is. We'll find out in just a second. But just looking at all the police officers on their motorcycles here, and as you can see, not actively, patrolling, not actively encircling any protesters, anything like that in Washington, D.C. here, where they're responding right now. Just very peaceful and calm. People just walking around, and we see a lot of smiles and conversations. This isn't a nighttime protest. This isn't a, something just happened yesterday and we're extremely angry about it protest. This is more just an ongoing, long-standing opinion that these protesters have about the Trump administration that we're seeing here as they get gathered to protest here in Washington, D.C., where they are here. It looks like the camera's getting reset, so we can move back to Scottsdale here. Or actually, this is Philadelphia here, again, where we've got the protests live out here right now. And this is what I was talking about with that big crowd, that sweeping crowd shot that we got out there. And then, we can go back out to Scottsdale just to leave people with those pictures right here. Sure. And, we'll come right back in just a minute here as we continue to gather our coverage of the No Kings protests all throughout the Valley, the state, and the country today.
Curious and open-minded. You want to shake his hand and say thank you? What is your name? Rick Davis. Thank you.
No money! No taxpayer money! Are you serious? Enough is enough! Enough is enough! How fucked up is that? For real, how fucked up is that? We, America has a rapist in the White House! How fucked up is that?
Thank you. Yes.
Right now you're watching our live pictures here from New York City of the protesters gathered out there. Similar vibe and feel to the protest there that we have seen in the protest in the valley out here, which is it's not angry, it's not shouting. In fact, we're seeing a lot of smiles and conversation. Any police response that we do see is a very casual response, sort of standing around talking with protesters, just keeping the peace. There's no sense at all that this is an unpeaceful or anything like that's going on here. Just a lot of people, thousands of people as they gather here in New York City. As the camera pounds around to a lot of the different signs that are up here. I always have fun with their signs. That is, if you're going to go to a protest, you're going to hold a sign. It's a pain to hold a sign all day. Let me just say that. So if you've ever held a sign before, sign holding is very tiring. So you better be passionate about that sign you're holding if you're gonna hold it. So get creative writing your signs out there. By the way, on the feed here, someone just asked how many cups of coffee I had today after anchoring Fox 10 AZAM this morning and then jumping into this. An ungodly amount, a shocking amount of coffee. It would be embarrassing for me to give you a number, and quite frankly, I've lost track. So there's your answer. All right, and please feel free if you got any questions about what's going on, what we're seeing out here. We want to answer those. We're trying to get you answers on just all the different corners of our state, the valley, all the corners across our country on how these different protests are handling themselves here. So send a comment to us. We're on the YouTube page right now. We're on Fox 10 local app, fox10phoenix.com. We're streaming. We're also streaming on TikTok. There are thousands of you out there watching our stream here. April says to wear the sign. Yes, that's good advice right there from April. Immediately what I thought of with that is when I was in my younger days as a young broadcaster, is I got to cover the Arizona State football games for ESPN, and I would hold up the those little plastic dishes for audio. Yeah. So it'd be like the little kind of half of a ball that would look like a plastic ball. I would hold those up, and if you rubbed it against your body, it would ruin the audio that was being recorded. So you have to hold it out and up at the players. The thing must have weighed an ounce. But when you put your hands out and hold an ounce for 4 hours, trust me, it gets tiring. So great advice from April. Just wear it. Respect sign holders, all of you, left, right, center, whatever you are. If you're a sign holder, I respect you because that is effort and commitment right there. We're going to keep showing you different shots of the protests going around. So this is New York right here. Can we switch to, what do we got? Yeah, we got Philadelphia here. We'll show you what's going on here. So this is a live look at the Philadelphia protests started to scatter around into different spots as they've started walking here and moving around in Philadelphia. Taking our live look here. That's been some of the more impressive visuals we've gotten as we've gotten the bird's eye view of what's been happening out there. Dave, can we switch from Philadelphia to D.C.?
Yeah, you
see what's going on in D.C.? Just kind of giving you a trip around the country at the different No Kings protests. Here's our look at D.C. Here, again, in the shot here, a little bit different as we see a much larger police response to what's happening in D.C., but the police response we've seen out there, it has not been encircling protesters or asking them to disperse, nothing like that. They're just sort of among the protesters out there on bikes. There hasn't been any confrontations that we have seen, no shouting or anything like that we've seen out there in D.C. Yeah, let's go to St. Paul, see what's going on out in St. Paul. They've got a concert going on in St. Paul. We don't need to listen in on that, I don't think. Okay. I think it's more impressive just to see the visuals of the people protesting there. So that's just a shot of the performance there. I'm not sure who that is that's performing up there. Let's go back to D.C. here, and then can we also show what's going on in Scottsdale here? Yeah, it looks like it's this event was supposed to go to 11:30, I believe, and this till 12. Yeah. Looks like it's thinned out on this street corner here. But that's to be expected a little bit as we get further into the day. Temperatures start to heat up, and we are already at 96 degrees in Phoenix right now. For the people that are joining us from outside of Arizona, watching our coverage here, it's toasty right now. 96 degrees is very warm. It's a little overcast out there, so it's a little more bearable than normal, but often we see with these day protests is they get popular in the morning and then they wane off in the middle of the day, and it appears maybe that's what we're starting to see here as we've thinned out a little bit in how many people are out there. Still been impressive. And we can go back to New York. Why don't we go back to our New York visuals here, and we'll leave you with this shot here for just a little bit as we keep broadcasting and showing you clips and coverage of the No Kings protests here throughout our country.
I have to move. And Tina I feel like I don't think they're marching. I think what happened was so many people got caught up in this. They're just like kind of yes. Well, now I'm just like okay. And so you guys are doing a story time.
About it? All right. You're gonna keep that under wraps. All right.
절로 가야 되겠다. Okay.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Our forefathers and foremothers fought to defeat fascism. And now it's up to us. Beneath your coat in too long time, there's a burning cross you can't hide. Instead of bridges, you build walls, all for you and none for all. It's white sheets in the White House. Everybody's singing shout. White sheets in the White House. Time to drive them white sheets.
Continuing to watch the live pictures here in New York as the No King's Day protest continues out here in Manhattan. It's been interesting to watch this. Appreciate our photojournalist out there getting these shots because he's not just keeping, or they're not just keeping, a stagnant shot on a street corner. They are walking with these protesters, getting a feel of what it's like to be in that crowd there. And I think that's really always interesting perspective to have, to be a part of it and feel it there. So appreciate the work that photojournalist out there is doing. Those cameras are heavy. The live gear they got to carry with them is all heavy. So appreciate the hours that he has spent out there walking along, being a part of this. Or she, I don't know who it is that's out there doing this, but either way, appreciate the work that they are doing. We can go back to our shots also of Minnesota. St. Paul, this is sort of the epicenter of the No Kings Day protests today, where we have seen some live performances going on, quite a lineup of people that they're going to have speaking at this today. All the local reps that are going to be out there, some national politicians speaking out there as well, and some performances as well, Bruce Springsteen as well. And we can listen into a live interview here in Old Town Scottsdale with one of the organizers.
Last one was about 4,000. I'm thinking we were expecting 5,000, and it looks like it.
How'd it go?
Really well. I've been down there on 5th Street by Drinkwater. I mean, the people just walking by all the way down. It's greater than last time.
What's it like to organize an event like this?
There's a lot of people who deserve a lot of credit, so it takes a lot of email, a lot of text messaging, a lot of phone calls, and follow-up has been great.
How many people you saw?
We were hoping for 5,000.
You had one thing, a beef about the organization, the presidential organization. What would it be? What would bring you up?
The list is too long. I mean, January 6th, and then pardoning the people who beat up 140 cops, right? There's the sexual abuse, calling reporters pigs, women pigs, and garbage. List goes on and on. Ukraine, pandering to Putin, and the corruption, doubling your income while you're president. A lot of stuff.
Your name again?
Mick.
And you're helping organize the Scottsdale No Kings?
I'm not an organizer, I'm a volunteer.
Okay. Right, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. You didn't ask about the bedroom.
I don't think that's
Scottsdale to show up for this. That's just one of 20 plus events that happened in Arizona today. Interesting, due to the heat and the weather, 96 degrees out there right now. Almost all these protests have already wrapped up. A few of them go till noon. The only two I'm really seeing here that go any further is an Anthem. There's going to be one in Anthem Way and Gavilan Peak Parkway from 1 to 3. And then Central Phoenix has a scheduled No Kings protest on Washington Street at the state capitol there from 2 to 5 p.m. today. So we'll see what the response is there. That's where we have typically seen the largest crowds. So we'll see how this sort of culminates today at the state capitol. Again, on a very warm day, and there is so much going on in the valley out here. So we'll see how that impacts how many people show up to this as we continue to take our live look here in New York at the protesters taking place here. And we can go back to our live shot here at St. Paul, where this is sort of the main hub of what these protests are here. Is we've got so many speakers and musicians performing today. That's the main hub, and then their goal of this protest group is to spread this out throughout the country so that there's events going on in every neighborhood. That's the idea. Even in St. Paul, where the main hub of this whole thing is, there's about 12 other protests going on within St. Paul as well. Taking a live look at the massive crowds that they have there in St. Paul, Minnesota for this event. Interestingly, the protest organizers for this No Kings Day, they want to have 9 million people nationally be a part of these protests today. They believe it's one of the biggest demonstrations in our country's history. With that, the White House has responded by really just sort of attacking even it happening. Not attacking, but just pushing back on the relevance of this, saying, quote, "The only people who care about these Trump derangement therapy sessions are the reporters who are paid to cover them." That's been the response from the administration on these many, many, many events happening all throughout our country. And, we're trying to go through a lot of the questions here that we get from people and all of that. And I will just say, there's been many questions about paid protesters, things like that. I mean, a lot of people out here. My only pushback on that would be that's a lot of people you'd have to be paying. And there'd be a lot of people that would have to stay quiet about getting paid. So I find that pretty hard to believe, but who knows? I will say too, as much as if you're saying that these protesters are paid, that means you're pretty passionate on the other side of this. And what I would say is these people are pretty passionate on the other side as well, and passionate enough to get out and protest. So I don't think there's any shortage of passion in our country. So no matter what side of the aisle you're on, you are passionate right now about politics. If you care about it at all, you have a lot of passion right now. That's what we see in protests like this. That's what we see in counter-protests. We've seen plenty of that before as well. Haven't seen much counter-protesting going on today. I've been talking to our reporters out in the field if they've seen any group of, President Trump supporters out and about doing anything like that. Haven't seen that at all. We can go switch our live camera here. Let's go switch back to Washington, D.C., actually, Dave. And we continue to see, that presence there of protesters on that street corner there. Not sure exactly where they are there in Washington, D.C. And we see a police presence there of them on their bicycles there. And the cars there sort of blocking off the road. Unclear sort of what's going on in this situation, if they've blocked off the road because the protesters have entered the road or not. We're just not really sure what's going on in D.C. But this is really the only place we've seen where there's been, police officers sort of stationed blocking off areas around where these protesters are here. And we can go back to New York, where we've got a great shot of one of those classic New York hot dog carts. I could go for one of those right now. Looks pretty good. Where the protesters are maybe wrapping up their walk here in Manhattan, as we've seen thousands and thousands of them, and the great photojournalist who's walking along them here and bringing us all of these visuals. Maybe putting the camera down for just a second, which I can understand as they've been going around. We can go back out live and prop up these photos again and these images here in St. Paul as we continue to hear from them there, and we'll be right back in just a second.
We continue to fight. The ACLU will not stop because we know you won't stop either. Because we the people will not be silenced. We the people will not be intimidated. We the people will not trade away our rights. We're going to keep going forward, and we are going to fight for all of our rights, for all of us. All of us. All of us.
Okay, back on track. Feeling good. Our next guest is an Ojibwe poet enrolled at Turtle Mountain and the inaugural Poet Laureate of Minneapolis. As curator, editor, and teacher, she edited New Poets of Native Nations and co-edited the 2025 publication Boundless: Abundance in Native American Art and Literature. Please welcome Hyde Erdrich.
Bonjour, Denawe Maganadok. Bonjour, Nisha Nishnabedok. I am not Wabanakwe Dorinde, but I am a proud Anishinaabe-kwe, and I am going to read to you from my current project, a crowdsourced poem on justice. The Twin Cities are home to the best poets in the English language, the Dakota language, the Anishinaabe language, to Somali language, and more. In the past months, poets here have spoken truth to power, and like so many of us, poets pack boxes of groceries, give rides, cover rent. Maybe a few of us threw dildos at the Whipple building. Poets have protected and observed and shared their words to raise funds. One poet stood up and was struck down. Hold steady. The words of poets are marching through these days. Gwendolyn Brooks' words, hand-printed on a poster. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond. Found that day, our collective breath made a cloud in sub-zero Minneapolis on a march. Pushed to the ground and bound in plastic handcuffs by the soldiers of the state, Lakota poet and activist John Trudell's words march from 1981 through me to you. Little did they understand, he said, squatting down on the ground, they placed me with my power. The words of poets are marching with us in these days, and the crushing beat of a poet silenced too. When a young person asks me, what do we do? I tell them, hold steady. Steady, my beloveds. Touch the ground you come from or came to. Ground our power in Earth's love of us. Let her rock us while we hold steady. When we must move, then we must march. March steady until it's just us. This has been a poetry service announcement.
Keep it going for Hyde Edric!
So we continue to take our live pictures here out of Minnesota, St. Paul here, the main sort of thrust of this No King's Day protest today.